Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over 20 Strong Tanglewoods Gold. This is one of 3 boxes that's in the Tanglewoods series that was just released for 20 Strong. And I'm going to be going over my thoughts on each one, so keep an eye out for my my discussion videos for red and white. So, Tanglewoods Gold is obviously following the fairy tale with Goldilocks and the 3 bears. Each of the Tanglewoods systems kind of has you do a similar idea of going into a forest that changes as the game goes on to defeat a boss at the end. And in this one, you are trying to defeat the 3 bears, Baby Bear, Mama Bear, and Papa Bear. And you do that in a more interesting way. In some of the other systems, like Hoplomachus, for example, you had to, of course, defeat 3 or 4 Primuses, I can't remember. And here, you have the 3 bears that are set off to the side, and whenever you go and visit a merchant, you can actually pay gold to put them into the enemy deck. Now, all 3 of the Tanglewoods games include gold and a merchant system. Gold is as you can imagine, is a currency that you use to either buy items or effects at the merchant. Now, with gold, the Tanglewoods Gold, this one was kind of interesting because as you progress through the game, you have these plastic cards. You have these forest cards, and you might see that some of them are green and some are purple. Well, the green represents daytime and the purple represent nighttime. And at the beginning of the game, all of the forest cards are green for daytime, but as you select one, it then flips when it discards to its nighttime. And that is the case for all of the cards. So they include these Fable cards as well as enemy cards, and they all start on their daytime side, but as you defeat them, they flip to their nighttime, or as you encounter them, like the Fables, for example, if you encounter them, it's on its daytime side, then its effect goes off, it goes to its nighttime, and it goes into a discard pile. And then the game just kind of progressively gets harder. Overall, I like the simplicity of the Tanglewoods Gold. This is probably the more straightforward one. Red is pretty straightforward, but this one is a lot more manageable because there's only 2 decks that you're really going through. You have your forest deck, and your forest deck will basically tell you if it has an effect on it, and then you have this directional system of north, south, east, and west. So whenever you pick a forest card, you then have to draw from the enemy deck until you get a card that is either a wild or that matches that icon to fulfill the map. But you can only draw so many cards equal to your strategy limit, and if you draw, let's say I have 2 strategy and I draw 2 cards, well, I have a wild and a south. I get to pick one of those to add to my tableau. And then once you meet the requirements of whatever is on your map card, you finish it, then you have your engagement. So it's kind of you're building out the enemy deck instead of it just randomly being from the top of a deck, and then you deal with whatever it says. So that system in and of itself is pretty straightforward. My issue with Gold is they included another icon. One, it's an icon that is pretty close to the special effects icon, but it's called an ambush. And the ambush effect basically means when you see that card, or when you see that ambush effect, it goes off. And there are some enemies, and so you have a risk-reward element of whenever you're playing the game. So let's say you can draw 4 cards. And your first card you draw, oh, hey, here's a south. And it's like, okay, this is a Birchum, has 2 health, but it has this effect on it that I don't really like. Do I keep drawing up to 4 to try and get a better south card or get a better card that can come in? But if you draw a card that has an ambush effect, regardless of if you add it to your tableau, its ability goes off. And some of them might just be like, add this to your tableau, or whatever they might be. I actually really don't like this system at all. I think that the game itself already kind of snowballs in, not in your favor. Especially with 20 Strong being a game that's entirely luck. Like, it feels like there's almost no strategy. There is strategy in the game, but, like, with the game being so random on what cards you're drawing, in what order, what map cards you're drawing, in what order, and then boil it all down to the dice themselves. I think the ambush effect almost always hurts you. There's some that are good. Like, there's a card that later on, if he comes through again, then he can just kind of remove all non-boss enemies and you just deal with him. That can be useful. But overall, I feel like the ambush effect just kind of makes the game even more lucky and more of kind of a pain in the ass to play. So that new mechanic I don't really enjoy. The merchant system, I'm probably going to mention this in every single one of my Tanglewoods discussions, but the merchant system is different in every single one of them. Here, your map card will dictate whether or not you get to visit the merchant, and that's the very last thing you do. So like I mentioned, this game has gold. Almost every enemy gives you gold, and every enemy has a bribe value. So your gold can be used before you even roll dice. You could spend gold to bribe them to not have to deal with the card. And I feel like that was their way to kind of counteract any bad draws, where it's like, oh, if you just have a lot of gold, you can just bribe them away. Yeah, except there's a bunch of enemies that have a shit ton of bribe value, other ways to increase a bribe value, and you very rarely, you can never go above 20 gold. So even then, it's like, well, I'm visiting the merchant at the end of this. I have 20 gold. I'm up against 10 enemies. I can't bribe them. Or if I do bribe them, then I'm not going to get anything for the merchant. Because it's not like when you bribe them, you defeated them. They just go away. So I don't necessarily like that the map card indicates when you can visit the merchant. Because like I said, the card is double-sided, meaning that if you if you just happen to get a string of bad luck where every map card doesn't let you visit the merchant, then you're really gaining nothing for defeating the enemies, because if you're maxed out on gold, whatever, I guess you bribe some of them just to defeat others to get your gold back. It's like, okay, whatever. And then you have to get lucky to be able to visit the merchant. Now, the merchant itself, I like its effects. I like the fact that you can spend gold to recover dice. So not only do you have you still have your recovery value, you can actually pay to get dice back. Or you can actually, with the merchant and Tanglewoods Gold, you can pay to increase your stats. It costs a lot, but if you want to increase your recovery from 1 to 2, it costs 3 times that value. So in this, 3 times the value of what the die is. So it costs 3 gold to go from 1 to 2, then 6, then 9, and then 12 to probably get it. And that's, well, I guess 20 gold would be to get it up to 5, but you wouldn't be able to do, wait, that's not how that works. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15, and then 18. So you can actually pay to max out a die. But then the game comes with these items, and I'm conflicted on the items. I don't ever really feel like they're all that good. At least they're not all that powerful. With how restrictive you are on your your items, I almost really want them to be super good. And this is the case for all of them. They have a regular side, and then you can pay gold to upgrade them. And I will say a lot of enemies or Fable cards do give you a chance to gain a free item or gain a free upgraded item, and that could be really nice. But yeah, like, they just feel okay. So I don't know. There were a lot of times I was going through these items and I was kind of like, all right, whatever. My other issue with the items is it's such a small stack. Like, in the other 20 Strong games, like enemies gave you abilities, gave you one-time abilities, gave you passive abilities, gave you, I think that was kind of the only two. And that kind of gave you a pretty unique build, depending on which enemy and item you were getting, or, enemy and ability you were getting. Here, it's like, well, I don't really see a value in the stick, which the stick it costs 1, but you deal it damage to a non-boss enemy if it would be defeated. If you upgrade it, which costs 4 gold, it deals 3 damage, and then it just gets shoveled back in. So, like, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I could pay 1 gold, but for the most part, I always felt like I was going to the merchant to be able to recover dice, and in Tanglewoods Gold, you actually have to go to the merchant, pay 5 gold to bait one of the bears into the deck. And then it kind of becomes like a regular enemy. It's still a boss enemy, and you still have to defeat the three bears to win. But it's not like you fight all 3 of them at the end, which I actually kind of like. I like the fact that you get to pay gold to decide which one of these bears goes in. And that gives you a little bit of agency, because each bear has an ambush ability as well as a ability while you're fighting it. And then when you defeat them, they give you a positive and a negative effect. The positive and negative effects, I think, are whatever. I personally would have rather had it just be a done deal. Hey, like, I would almost rather had it be, if you defeat this, if you defeat a bear, you recover all your dice or something, or increase a stat of your choice. I would have much rather it had that, because the positive effects for them, like Baby Bear, is you can treat every map as if it had a merchant. Okay, that's pretty good. But they have a negative effect. At the end of each activation, if no daytime cards were drawn this activation, you lose a health. Alright, that's kind of annoying, but whatever. The Mama Bear, when you purchase an item from the merchant, you may flip it to its upgraded side at no cost. Alright, that's not horrible, except if you already have upgraded items and they're permanents, well, then you're kind of just SOL. And then the negative is, after adding a card to your tableau, draw the next card in the forest deck, trigger any ambush effects on the card, then either discard it or add it to your tableau. Okay, again, that's random. Ambush effects can be bad. They can also be somewhat good. It's just kind of, again, a whatever ability. And then Papa Bear, at the start of each round, you may exhaust your 5 strongest dice to +1 to any stat. Again, that's 5 dice out of 17, if you have them all, to get a +1 to exhaust. Yeah, okay, that's not amazing. And then the negative, you can only choose one of the merchant actions each time you visit the merchant. You may perform that action multiple times. So I don't know. And the fact that these are the only 3 versions of these, it's not like you're going to get a different combination of positive and negative. So I really actually don't... I don't hate the effects of the bosses, being kind of there throughout the remainder of the run. But I also don't love it, so I would have much preferred they didn't exist. Overall, here's my biggest issue, and I know I'm going to say it for all the other Tanglewoods reviews. This Tanglewoods series, every single box is way too long. It is, in my experience, about an hour and a half. And the setup, at least for gold, is pretty straightforward. So at least the setup for this one was actually just kind of like shuffle a couple decks and you're ready to go. But the playtime is way too long for this kind of game. Because if you're already on the fence of 20 strong and you're like, okay, I feel like it's too random, well, it's going to be even worse if the game is an hour and a half. And then if you find it, if you also find the game to be too simple, like in some of the other games, mainly Solar Sentinels, then you might like it, but I really, really don't like the idea. This is like the concept of a bad roguelike. If you're playing a roguelike and you've been playing for an hour and a half and you lose to the final boss, it is so demoralizing. This game, Tanglewood specifically, has that in spades. You can do everything super well and just get a bad hand against like the final boss. You've fought Papa Bear and Mama Bear early, and you're fighting Baby Bear, who should be the easiest, but his ambush ability is like immediately draw 4 forest cards, and for each enemy drawn, you have to either add him. You could draw 4 enemies, lose all your stats, and then let's say you lose your stat and you're like, I'm rolling all my dice anyway, but you lowered your strategy stat to 1 or 2, and then you roll blanks, and it's like there's nothing you can do about that. And you're like, okay, I got one more shot to try and kill him, but there were 3 enemies there as well, and I rolled blanks again. So I played for an hour and a half, and I lost, and that's just incredibly frustrating. So that is my biggest issue with the Tanglewoods Gold, or the Tanglewoods system, is that it is just way too long. And this one is not as convoluted as some of the other ones. This had that system of every time you defeat a card, or it flips to its nighttime side. So your overall deck is just going to have a combination of daytime and nighttime cards. Typically, the nighttime effects are worse, but they're not so bad that it can... I mean, some of them can be bad. But I don't know. I also feel that was just kind of weird. Not bad, but kind of also not great. Yeah. Because each one of them have a daytime and nighttime effect on all of them. So, yeah, it's like, I like the fact that you get to choose when the boss comes in. So that's really up to you. You could rush it. I mean, you could have a full deck and go to the merchant on your first map and pay 5 gold to throw. You start with almost always 12 or 13 gold. So you can pay 2 gold and throw 2 bears into the mix and then try and just defeat them. So you could just get super lucky and wipe out some of the bears and deal with the negative effects until you fight the third one. Or you can try and wait until the deck is really thin, and then throw in one so you have a higher chance of drawing it and less chance of dealing with any of the effects. So it's kind of up to you. I like that, but yeah, the nighttime daytime effect for this one was kind of just whatever, and the map cards were all right. So overall, I think this one is it is the simplest of the 3. Unfortunately, it doesn't result in it being any shorter, and the items I find are okay. The effects of the bosses I find are okay. Between the 3, I think this one might be the most okay of the Tanglewoods systems. So yeah, like, I mean, it's all right. Like, I don't hate this one. I don't love it, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this a 6. A little bit above average, but because its simplicity doesn't result in it being any shorter, an hour and a half game of this just bumps it down a point, and I think this one's kind of a 5. And yeah, I really don't like the way that they do the fables in this one. Like, some of them can be really good, but yeah, I think that with it just being a daytime and nighttime system, you're just going to have... I mean, there's the variety, because some cards won't be daytime and some cards won't be nighttime each time you play. But the end result is still going to be your 3 bears. And maybe I'm just not that into Goldilocks and the 3 bears. It's kind of all right. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Tanglewoods Gold. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Like I said, keep an eye out for my discussion on red and white. And yeah, let me know what you think of this down below. And like, comment, share, and subscribe. And have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.